relief. You two take care of labor.
Only intended for a plane capsule.
You don't want to die of cold. Toll free.
Hello, and welcome to Screenland. My name is Brian Lloyd. On this week's show, Peter McGann is going to be on later talking about Limmy, Brian Limond, Scottish comedian, Twitch streamer now, I think he's kind of more known as. And he's going to be talking about his a sketch that he did a couple of years back that's up on YouTube. We're going to be talking about that and just basically talking about comedy in general, how Limmy was a real big influence on him. It's going to be pretty cool. Up for review this week, however, is Materialists. So, Materialists is directed by Celine Song, stars Chris Evans, Dakota Johnson, and Pedro Pascal. Celine Song previously directed a film called Past Lives, which was released, I want to say, about 2 years ago. And really just absolutely blew me away when I saw it because, you know, it's one of those films I think that really sticks with you in terms of just the content of it, like just, you know, the story of it. Like, I mean, it's brilliant. Like, it is an absolutely incredible film. It's all about the path not taken, you know, that kind of way, the idea of, you know, romantic destiny, and are you with the person you're supposed to be with? Should you be with somebody else? And what does that mean then for the person that you're with? And, you know, have you made the right choice? It's just, I've never seen a film done about this topic done so well. And Materialists, I mean, you know, right, I have so many problems with everything around it. I have no problem with the film itself. I'll explain. First of all, this was really kind of marketed as this, like, kind of preppy, happy-go-lucky, chic, fashionable, almost like a romantic comedy. A lot of the reviews I've seen of it have really kind of talked about how it was false advertising and this, that, and the other. And, you know, I get it. I mean, like, you know, pitching this as something light and frothy is obviously going to get more eyeballs on it. It's really more closer to a drama, a romantic drama, a drama about modern dating and how it's really become this kind of, you know, soulless thing where, you know, you have people essentially just trying to do math equations in order to fit together when realistically, you know, it's completely instantaneous. When you fall in love with someone, you can't help it. There is no math for it. There is no formula to it. And these people that, you know, that go to Dakota Johnson's matchmaking agency, it's just, you know, they're just looking for a box to be filled. They just want something, you know, they want to be valued, you know, and that's quite dark. I mean, it's really kind of, dark is maybe too strong a word, but it's really, there's a lot going on in it. It's not frothy at all, but the marketing kind of makes it seem that way. And then another thing that really bugged me, again, around Materialist, was the fact that it was released way earlier in the US and is only getting released this week here in the UK and Ireland. Like, I mean, you know, I'm not advocating for piracy, but the reality of it is that this has been on streaming, which then means it's on dodgy boxes here and it's going to be on torrenting sites, so people will have seen it that way. Or even if you have okay, that's the black market way. The grey market way. If you have a VPN, you can log on to Prime Video, or you can log on to Apple Movies, whatever, iTunes, whatever. And if you have a VPN, you can buy it legally and watch it. So what the hell, like? And I'm sure there is a reason. I just haven't heard a good reason as to why it is that studios are staggering out the releases like this. It just does not make sense to me at all in this day and age. I can understand that, you know, 30 years ago, 40 years ago, where, you know, word of mouth and the idea of slowly building up and making, just, it made sense before, it doesn't make sense now. Leave all that aside. Materialists, I have been thinking about it since I've seen it. And, like Dakota Johnson, I think as an actor, like she can do really, really good stuff. I mean, the film that I would always point at and say she was brilliant in, and you can really see a talent, is The Good Daughter, which was her and Olivia Colman, and it was adapted from an Elena Ferrante book, and it's about this idea of regretful motherhood, regretful parenthood, and it's something, again, like Materialists, is very real, but is not talked about in a very realistic way in... Okay, Eddie. Easy boy. Easy boy. If there are any dog trainers watching this, by the way, I'd love to know if there's, of any way to get a dog to stop barking at the window. But anyways. So, yes. So, she is a really, really gifted actor, I think. And in this, you can see kind of different shades of, other performances that she's done. Like, she's very vulnerable in certain points, and then she's very, like, closed down, shields up, has all of her kind of faculties kind of turned and geared towards, the best possible outcome in any kind of relationship. And that then fits in with Pedro Pascal's character. Pedro Pascal's character is this, finance dude who is described in Dakota Johnson's character's estimation as a 10 out of 10, a unicorn. He's fabulously rich. He looks great. He sounds great. He talks great. He dresses great. He's so confident and all the rest of it. He has everything that a woman could possibly want. But then, the kind of the contrast with Chris Evans' character. Chris Evans' character is, a struggling theatre actor in his late 30s who's basically broke, is trying to lead this creative life, but is often frustrated by still not being able to get there. Lives in a horrible apartment in New York, cramped in with three other dudes, actually, in fact. And, there's three of them living there. Whatever, anyway. Basically, he's in a cramped apartment in New York. It's horrible. Like, there's a bit in it when he steps. And again, maybe this is why they tried to kind of market it as a comedy, because it's funny. But like, it's basically he steps on a used condom and he like loses it, which it's happened before. Not that I've stepped on a used condom, but I've walked into a place and there was a used condom on the ground and it was a whole thing. And that's all I'm going to say about that. But if there is any of my former colleagues, they'll know exactly what I'm talking about. Doesn't matter. Moving on. Chris Evans' character is very real. He's very emotional. He's very vulnerable. He's very much real and authentic. And in comparison with Pedro Pascal's character, where, he views Dakota Johnson's character as essentially like an investment. Like, I mean, he literally says that, I want to do business with you. I want us to have a great life together. You're smart. You're an equal. I'll respect you. Blah, 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 blah. I mean, the first time they have sex, I mean, she's literally walking around in between getting mauled by him. She's walking around his apartment amazed by it. And it's incredible. I mean, I would say as well, if you have any kind of interest in, art, architecture, fashion, whatever. If you've subscribed to No Filler on Instagram, thank you for the shout out, by the way. You would look at Materialists and be drooling. Like the style in it is fantastic. Like, it is so gorgeous. So like, again, it's that thing of like, she's appreciating the aesthetics. She's appreciating everything that his wealth can provide. But there's nothing there. Whereas Chris Evans, on the other hand, I mean, something happens in the film, and I'm not going to say it because I really do think it's one of those films, again, kind of like Weapons last week, the less you know about it, the better. Something happens, and Pedro Pascal's character doesn't have never brings it up, never investigates doesn't talk about it, whereas Chris Evans kind of clocks it straight away. Now, point that I'm leaving out, Chris Evans and Dakota Johnson's character previously had a relationship and it failed. And the reason it failed is because they were both broke. And, you know, the reality of it is that, and again, it's a thing that no one likes talking about because it's obviously very uncomfortable and it kind of comes across as vulgar. But, like, being poor is the worst possible... It's not the worst possible thing that can happen to you, but it's, you know... It's the kind of thing that really does crush the soul in a way that, you know, really does kind of take the joy out of it, you know? It takes the joy out of everything, to be honest. And, you know, this is something that Celine Song has talked about in previous interviews. Like, I saw there was one interview, I think it was for either, I think it was Elle or it was one of the women's kind of publications where she was reading, the interviewer was reading a Letterboxd review. And the interviewer kind of was like, oh, I laughed at this because it's like, you know, the review is so funny. It's not Celine Song doing broke boy propaganda. That's so funny. How do you feel about that? And then Celine Song immediately is like, thanks for saying that. I really appreciate that. And then just goes into this really detailed discussion about, you know, intersectionality, feminism, the idea of, you know, feminism comes from an anti-capitalist, you know, place, and that just because, you know, somebody's poor, does that mean that they're not entitled to love? Does that mean that you shouldn't love them because they're not fabulously wealthy? Like, I mean, and again, that's the wider kind of question about materialists is, you know, we are so, you know, like the world that we are in currently is so built on metrics. And this is something, if you're watching last week's show with Sean O'Reilly, you know, this whole thing about even like, you know, parenthood is all built on screen time metrics and like, you know, too much screen time and blah, 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 blah. And conversely, you know, dating is, you know, they must be 6 foot or over. They must earn 100,000 or more. And you even see that in acting and just, you know, film and TV and all the rest of it. The whole Instagram followers thing where it's like, you know, Maya Hawke recently was doing an interview about this and she was talking to a director and the director basically said like, you know, look, I know you don't have Instagram, but if you did have an Instagram and you did have, you know, that would help me, you know, with producers on this film because the way they see it is that an actor should have a social media following. And like, you know, people were saying, I got asked a question once about like Dwayne Johnson. How is it that he is the most highly paid actor in Hollywood? It's very simple. It's because he has a huge social media following. It's not because he's a good actor. He's not a good actor. He's not a good actor. He just isn't. He's a very good businessman. But as an actor, no, he's a terrible actor. He's not a good... I've never seen him in anything that I'm like, you know, maybe that thing, The Smashing Machine, maybe that'll be the one for him, but I doubt it. But, you know, this kind of metric-based kind of thing that has really kind of taken hold of culture in the last, like, 20 years. Basically since social media became a thing, because then it was all about follower count and it was all about your reach and your audience and da. And that then has now permeated into dating and the idea of they've got to have this, they've got to have that, it's got to be this, you know, all these things. When, you know, the truth of it is that you're just, you know, one of the characters in it, one of the clients, I should say, that Dakota Johnson has, she's just like, I just want to be loved. I just want someone to love me and I want to love them back. And that's it. And that's really what, I mean, you know, that's really what dating is, isn't it? Isn't that really just what all relationships are? You just want someone to love you as much as you love them. And, you know, everything else then you'll figure it out. You know, money, kids, no kids, somewhere to live, somewhere not to live. You know, you can figure them out. And everything else is just scenery. And that's really what Materialists that's the sort of the central premise is that, you know, Dakota Johnson's character lost sight of the important things. And, you know, that may seem trite, that may seem quaint in modern dating, just dating in general, but it's worth reminding people of it. And that's why I think this is such a good film. I think it really, when a film is really cooking to me, is when it speaks to something, when it actually has something to say. And this is a film that has something to say. And the discourse around it as well, I think, has been really interesting. Like I saw some comments, people were saying, like, you know, Chris Evans' character is, you know, he's choosing to be broke. He is choosing this life, and he is choosing to, you know, stay in New York and work in a field that will, you know, the odds are against him and all these kind of things. When the truth of it is that, yes, that is true. Yes, he's doing all those things, but like he's, you know, like and like this kind of goes to, you know, wider kind of people, you know, people who live and work in creative fields, is that like, yeah, okay, fine, I could go off and get a real job. I could go off and work and, you know, earn lots of money, but I'd hate it and I'd be miserable and I'd be creatively blocked and I would hate myself and hate what I've become. And, you know, I remember I remember when I was writing for entertainment.ie and stuff like that, like I would get emails from people who I knew were working down the road in the IFSC and stuff like that. And they'd be like, oh, you know, you just have a great job and yeah, but like, you know, you can just sit around and like, you know, typing away and writing all these articles, you know, and it's a great job to have and all the rest of it. And like, I'm not for a single solitary second saying it wasn't a great job and all the rest of it, but the reality of it was that we were not paid a lot of money. In fact, we were most of us were earning just above minimum wage. And a lot of us were how do you say, supporting our income with other stuff, like, you know, that kind of way, like radio or TV, or some of us had entirely other different jobs. All I'm trying to say is that, like, you know, people who work in a creative field, yes, they don't earn a lot of money, but that's the thing, isn't it? Like, the cool jobs pay nothing. It's the not cool jobs, it's the boring jobs, the ones where all the money is. And it's like, okay, you can still be interesting and have a desperately boring job, but like, does that then mean, you know, are the people who create, who make art, who make, you know, who write plays or write books or write articles that you read, or, you know, star in the TV shows that you watch or make the podcasts that you listen to, do you think they don't deserve money because they're doing a cool job that you want to do? Is that it? Do you not value what they do? You listen to it enough, you watch it enough, you read it, you do whatever. Do you think they don't deserve a living wage? Like, what's that about? I've gone way off topic. Here's what I will say. Materialists is great. I really enjoyed it. I think it's really smart. It really has something to say. Yeah, absolutely worth a watch. Definitely go see it. It's in cinemas this weekend. The other thing from Screen Land that I've been enjoying is Alien Earth. Now, hold your breath. Alien as a sort of franchise, intellectual property, series of films and games, and now a TV show. To call it hit and miss is an understatement. You can have highs, you can have lows. You can have your Alien versus Predator, and then you can have something like, you know, Prometheus, which people love, people hate. I remember coming out of the press screening for Prometheus and thinking, God, I wish I liked this more than I did. And it was the same with Alien Covenant. Like, I think Alien Covenant was, you know, a course correction on old Rid's part, you know. An Alien Romulus as well, I think, was, you know, Fede Alvarez trying to, I don't want to say right the ship, but acknowledging, I guess, that what people loved about it, Alien as a concept, was, you know, a kind of return to, I want to say tactile filmmaking. That's the only way I can describe it as. You know, minimal CGI. You can see the sets. They're lit in such a way that it does feel like there's a depth to it. The script for Alien Romulus, I don't know. I mean, I liked it. I did like it. I liked Alien Romulus. I know some people didn't like it. I liked it. I liked it for what it was. I liked the fact that this is a really good cover band. This is probably the best produced cover band you're ever going to see. This is as close as you're going to get to the original. We can't bring in, you know, the old cast. They tried to. I mean, they literally tried to in Alien Romulus. So coming into Alien Earth, I will fully admit I was skeptical. I was so skeptical because, you know, the first Alien was essentially, you know, Texas Chainsaw Massacre crossed with Star Wars. That's literally what the elevator pitch for it was. That's how it was pitched. And that can work in 90 minutes or 2 hours. Trying to transpose that into an 8-part TV series where you have, you know, an hour-long episode-ish. How are you going to sustain that for that long? How is that going to work? Foolish me for even doubting it, because this has been written and directed and executive produced by Noah Hawley. Noah Hawley previously did Fargo. And he also did Legion. And those are two stories, two kind of, again, I hate using the word, but intellectual properties that you would look at them and think there's no way they can make this into a TV show. And yet they did. In the case of Fargo, you know, it's tone, you know, that kind of way. It's taking the tone of the Coen brothers. It's taking that kind of, you know, gallows humor with very right under the ribs, you know, soulful kind of stories about good and evil. And then in the case of Legion, it's like, you know, I saw somebody kind of describe it as like a Terrence Stamp film from the 60s with Dan Stevens. It's this really psychedelic, weird, you know, almost kind of Mario Bava-esque kind of thing. And again, you would think like Legion, how is that going to work? Like, you know, it's a weird psychedelic, trippy ass comic book character that was, you know, really C and D tier, you know, that kind of way. Like, it wasn't well known, and yet made one of the best TV shows, I think, of the last 25 years. Fargo season 2, I was talking about this to somebody else. Fargo season 2 is this is the one with Patrick Wilson, is one of the best seasons of TV of the last 2 decades. One of the very best. I will die on that hill I will 100%. That's, watch it. It's as good as your Breaking Bads, your Sopranos, your Generation Kills, your first and second seasons of Sex and the City, Girls, whatever. It can comfortably sit alongside those. It's that good. So, even with Noah Hawley on board, I was still skeptical about Alien Earth. Again, foolish that I am, because this is fantastic. This is so well done. And what I loved about this was that it got back to something that the original Alien and Aliens was really in the core DNA of it. But then Prometheus and Alien Covenant and Alien Romulus to a certain degree as well just decided to just shove out the airlock, which is corporations effectively see human beings as collateral damage. They don't care about you at all. They are not interested in your life. I mean, that is a central tenet of Alien, is the fact that, you know, Mother, the ship's computer, tells them they're all expendable. The only thing that matters is getting this ship back to Earth with all the samples on board, you know? And in the case of Alien Earth, smartly, what it does is, the first episode, ship crash lands on Earth, carrying these samples. It happens to land in a place called New... It's set, obviously, in 2120, I think it is. Earth is now governed by, 3 to 5 massive corporations. Wayland Yutani, obviously, people will know from Alien and Aliens and the whole franchise. But there's this other company called Prodigy. And the ship lands in their territory, in their city called New Siam. And the company Prodigy sends out a search and rescue team to try basically figure out what's going on. They happen to stumble upon the alien samples. The xenomorph gets out and into the building that it's crashed into, causes havoc. And that's the setup. But then you have a whole thing about artificial intelligence and artificial life, and this idea of immortality, and human technology is going to reach a point where human beings have the ability to live forever, either through cybernetics or through transferring of consciousness into an alien into a synthetic, into an android, I guess, or just androids themselves. And that then begins to play a part in it, and the idea of evolution, and the idea of humans were once food, but then they started to stand upright and use sharp sticks, and they no longer became food, but they're still food. And the nearest thing I could compare it to would be Andor. And again, there's political kind of commentary running through it, but also its scale, its size, its depth, its the cinematic quality of it. Because you look at Alien Earth and it looks gorgeous. I mean, the cinematography is brilliant in it, and even little kind of small touches, they use the font in the credits, the same font from the original movie, Helvetica. The opening credits has the Saul Bass, the letters kind of forming as it goes along, and it's kind of like a recap of the previous episode, which again, so fucking smart. And then it's kind of the fact that the people in the show, they have a real human quality, because that was the thing about the original Alien, wasn't it? The fact that Sigourney Weaver and Veronica Cartwright and Harry Dean Stanton and Yaphet Kotto and Tom Skerritt, they were all in their 40s. They weren't teenagers. So when they were being attacked by the alien, when they were being chased, when they were under threat, the fact that they were adults and not teenagers meant that we had this sense that they had lives, they had children, they had experience, and that made it 10 times more scary. I mean, yeah, you can talk about the feminine aspect of it, and the fact that H.R. Geiger really kind of designed the alien and designed the whole thing around the idea of male rape and all the rest of it. But really, I feel, that's all very true, but really what made Alien so scary was that it was adults. It was adults being terrorized, as opposed to teenagers, like in Texas Chainsaw Massacre or Friday the 13th or Evil Dead or whatever. But they looked it, that kind of way. They looked real. Their teeth weren't perfect. Their hair was kind of natural. They looked scared. And in this, they've done similar as well. Even, Timothy Olyphant, for example, plays this synthetic, like an android. And he looks really the minute I seen him, I was oh, it's Rutger Hauer from Blade Runner. And again, I was just that's, again, so smart, because you're using iconography. And yes, it's an homage or whatever, but he looks older, and he looks, a similar kind of vibe. And it's just like there's so many design choices in it that I was like, oh, that's so good. Like, looks so great. But the story as well, the fact that it's about corporations, the fact that it's about, malfeasance, and the idea of corporations as beings who may as well be aliens. Like, really what I feel Alien Earth is actually closer to something like Cyberpunk. It's more closer to William Gibson. And I always remember there's a line, I think it was in Count Zero, where, in the book, it's one of the characters has been hired by this multi-billionaire, and the character observes the fact that, like, billionaires are so far removed from the rest of us, they may as well be aliens. And I feel like this was something that was kind of in the ether when Noah Hawley was writing this, because billionaires are completely removed from the rest of us. They have no frame of reference for what you or I or anyone listening to this goes through. They just don't. So it would make sense that they don't view human beings and people as a concept in the same way that you or I would, because they are just completely divorced from it. So then introduce into that the concept of aliens, the concept of bioweapons, the concept of, well, we have to get this. Like, there's a scene in I think it's like in the third episode, I think it is, where the head of Prodigy Corporation, whose name is Boy Cavalier, what a name, and he's like, $1 trillion worth of research has just landed into our lap, and it's like, smashed up a building, people are dead, it's on the loose, but he's like, no, it's $1 trillion worth of research, just bag it up and get it back here and stuff. So yeah, again, great, really, really loved it. I've seen 3 episodes of it so far. I'm literally, as soon as I'm done with this, I'm going to watch the rest of it. But I really, really enjoyed this. I really, really do recommend it. If you liked Andor, if you like sci-fi, if you even have a past interest in it, I think you will get a lot out of this. So yeah, absolutely worth a watch. Final point I want to talk to, and then we're going to get on to the interview with Peter McGann. Small screen content. Marc Maron's run on a lot of the podcasts. I just want to spend 10 minutes on this. I think it's fucking fantastic. I think it's so great. Marc Maron, is one of those people, I think, that, I was joking about it with somebody where it's like, he must look at, Theo Vaughn and Joe Rogan and all those dudes as the same way that, like, it's like Oppenheimer, looking at the pool at the end of the film and being like, what have I done, kind of thing. And he's been very, like, I mean, that's always been his thing, isn't it? Like, he's so honest, like, he doesn't really hold back, and he's honest about himself, and he's honest about, the medium that he works in, and he made this point, I think it was on the Howie Mandel show, where he talked about, like, these guys, they're just cranking content out. They don't care. They don't give a shit. Like, and, they've won. All these, like, far-right podcasters, all these, like, Joe Rogans and Andrew Schultz and Tony Hinchcliffe and all these dickheads, they've won. The culture in America has completely shifted to their viewpoint. Trans people are getting their rights taken away. Minorities are terrified. They're literally rounding people up and throwing them into the back of trucks and taking them away without any kind of due process. They're all doing this. They voted for this. I mean, there's one thing you can say about, Trump and the Republicans is that they didn't lie. They never lied. They said they were going to do this. They said that they were going to do this. And people voted for them knowing that they were going to do this. And these podcasters knew that they were going to do this. And, like, they can all be like, oh, well, I thought they were going to target, criminal gangs and Tren de Aragua and all this kind of, an MS-13 and all this bullshit. No, they knew what they were going to do. They knew exactly what they were going to do. And Marc Maron is calling them out for it. And I think that's great. I think it's brilliant. the fact that he's ending the show, you know, as he said himself, like he's 62, he's done it for 16 years. I mean, I remember I interviewed him. It was around the time when he passed like 1,000 episodes. And I remember asking him, I was like, do you feel like you've got another 1,000 in you? And, you know, he gave me a fairly straightforward answer. And he was like, look, you know, we'll see and all the rest of it. I'm not too sure. As long as it's still interesting, I'll keep doing it and blah, 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 blah. But, like, I remember at the time thinking, it felt even then that he was like, okay, I've done 1,000 of these. I've done enough. I don't need to keep proving myself. I mean, I'll keep doing the work. And I mean, obviously it was keeping a roof over his head and he was making a lot of money from it. And I don't deny a man earning a crust or whatever, but like you can tell that a lot of, especially like a lot of the more recent kind of episodes when he was talking to actors like Josh Brolin, for example, it felt like he was getting acting lessons. I felt. You could tell that he was trying to kind of like, I think he was. I'm not. That's not to say that, you know, he wasn't having a hard-going conversation with them about craft and how to, you know, how to do all those things and all the rest of it. You know, he definitely was, but I feel like he was getting more out of it than any of us listening to it. At least that's what I felt. Needless to say, you know, he's created something incredible, so he should be really, really proud of it. And I just loved his whole thing that he was doing on the other shows, like the fact that he was just drilling into them dickheads, because they deserve it. They absolutely deserve it. And you know, fuck all of them. So yeah. Now comes our interview with Peter McGann. Peter McGann is playing in the Lighthouse in Dunleary Friday, September 12th. Tickets are available for that. Limelight 2 in Belfast. That's on September 27th. That's a Saturday. He's playing the Museum of Comedy in London. That's Saturday, October 18th. And then he's playing in the Barras in Clonakilty, and that's Friday, December 12th. That's as part of the No tour. So this is our interview with Peter McGann. Check it out. Comedian Peter McGann, welcome to Screenland.
Thank you very much.
Your choice is a fascinating one. You've chosen a sketch. It's not even a sketch, actually. It's a video.
Yeah, this is key, I think.
From Limmy. Mm-hmm. And we'll play a little clip of it.
Let me explain. I can't believe I'm doing it. I was on the subway. I was coming into Hillhead subway station. I don't know what it's like in the underground where you live, but in Glasgow, I just look at the ground. I look at the ground. I look at people's feet. And I saw the most amazing pair of sneakers.
What do you think is wrong with Limmy?
I don't know, and frankly, I don't want to know. No, there's the thing I love about his stuff, that I fell in love with that stuff, is how primal it is, how primal every idea is, and even more importantly, how primal the execution is.
Yes.
Like, there's so much rage bubbling up, but it's rage that doesn't feel like nihilistic or like kind of off-putting. It's like this really beautiful, relatable rage, and it doesn't feel like a Larry David type of rage.
No.
But it feels even more primal than that. And so I think there's a lot of that wrong with him.
Yeah.
Beyond that, I'd be afraid to speculate.
I have a theory, and because I was showing my wife the clip you'd picked, and she said, "Oh yeah, I can see why Peter McGann picked this." Yeah. Right.
Yeah.
And I'll explain. It was because one of your characters, I think a lot of your characters, Eddie, dude, chill out, buddy, is they basically want to be normal. They want to fit in. They can fit in. And the frustration of not being... Dude.
This is amazing.
Okay, we'll try that again. So, the whole thing is that the characters that like kind of Limmy has done, and I feel like you've done, and I think Tim Robinson has done as well, is they want to be normal. They want to fit in. They want to be accepted, but they can't. And because they can't and they know they can't, has this frustration, this rage. And it's like, why can't I fucking fit in?
Yes.
And when watching this clip, I was like, oh God, that's really what it is. Because he's like trying to be like a normal kind of YouTuber and being all like, doing all this.
The hair
he's all like, with the hair. And he's all like,
and his inflections.
And his inflections, and again, this is where you guys come in. And like, I've seen those clips, and it's like, it didn't dawn on me until, later that that's a choice. Like, in they're specifically doing this because it's a what? It's a specific choice. Like, they're doing this because they want to, it's that thing of like engagement, that kind of way that they're trying to be as, speak the language, as it were.
Yes, exactly. It's and I completely like. I get what you always like, that sketch or that video for me.
Yeah,
it is a bit of a Rosetta Stone for me. Like, when I saw that years and years, it kind of cracked things open for me as to,
you can make jokes about this.
Yeah, I can do that. Yeah, and I can, and the delivery system doesn't have to be this very like, this is a comedy skit kind of format. It can be this kind of weirder, darker, more primal thing, more kind of this thing that's coming from his gut. Yeah, and it's hilarious, but it's hilarious in ways that it doesn't necessarily. It's not going to be there on paper.
Yes,
it's not going to. It's you could show it to someone and they could be quite off-putted by it.
Yes, it kind of lives in that uncomfortable space where you know exactly what it is. You can't put a name to it. You can't explain what it is, but you know it
exactly
because it's like right under the skin, like.
And that to me is like. That sketch to me was like, I was like, it was like seeing God almost. I genuinely, because I loved at that stage. I was like, I loved comedy and stuff like that. But I was all about films and stuff like that. Like, at that time, I wanted to, like, I just film is where it's at, and I just love films. And I'd studied film in college and stuff like that, and it kind of was. I was always like, I used to make sketches and stuff like this, but I was always like, this is just a precursor to
making a film.
Making a film and stuff. But seeing the Limmy thing, I was like, oh God, it was like, showed me the light a bit. So then, almost then, the stuff that I made from then on was, you could still be as weird and
dark and off-putting,
and do the characters that you want to talk about, but they could exist literally in like a minute-long video.
Yes,
which I didn't think you could do before I saw that and other Limmy stuff like the vines and stuff like that.
There's a quote, and I'm going to be paraphrasing this now, but it's like Lee Marvin said this, that it was like basically, all these pimps, all these killers, all these like bad people, they're somewhere underneath, like they're in there somewhere.
Exactly.
And like, is it by playing, like, just take for example like Fergus Quisling, right? Who, he's obviously an exaggeration of a very real person. Again, it's an exaggeration, but is it by, I don't know, is it by kind of talking about that character? Is by playing that character, do you think are you understanding them more, or are you making fun of them? Do you know what I'm trying to say?
Yeah, I do. But someone like Fergus Quisling, no to the understanding. I guess you can understand someone like that, even if you completely don't agree with them. You're like, you understand someone who is enthralled to say
imperial
the UK and
power,
imperial power, and thinks we were better off in that situation. It'd be disingenuous to say you can't understand it to a degree.
Sure,
but you can. Like, there's just such bile when I do those sketches. It's just pure bile for me, and like that's why the character is that way. It's like, it's just
is it exorcism?
It is a bit of an exorcism, yeah. So like, but that's not the case for all the characters. Whereas like someone like I do this character Morgan Grogan, who's like the and so many people.
Oh, that's like I've met him.
But this is it. So many people are like, I know who you're talking about. I know, wink, 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 and it's like, well, I'm talking about me. He's me. Whereas that's not the case. but it's like my insecurities. It's like, am I him? I've caught myself being him.
God. Oh fuck.
Whereas like,
I know what you mean. That's what I'm saying to you. I know, like when you said like. I've been that character. Like, do you remember me?
Just like craven and and desperate, and like this, I've committed myself to this image of myself, so that's the image that has to be.
This has to continue.
Yeah. Whereas like Quisling, it's an extra. It's like I observe these people, and I just want to say something about them, and it's not like I don't. It's not political. It's like I don't do.
You don't do political comedy,
satire
but there
or-
is.
It's more so like it's just literally like this type of person and this type of way of thinking.
Yeah.
I'm going to do something around that, and that. So it's like it's again. It just comes from, and in the same way, like some of the Limmy stuff works. It's like you can just
You like
feel where it's come from.
Oh yeah, like I mean, the one that I always go to is they've turned the weens against me.
Like that's how do you even explain that?
You
Like
can't.
even up to the day of filming, where people are like, "What are we doing today?"
Yeah.
It's not a funny idea.
No,
when you watch
it's
it, you're like,
horrible.
it's horrible. But also, there's no actual. There's
no punchline.
structure to it or
No.
punchline or. It's just literally just a man rambling to himself in the street, and then someone interrupts his flow of thought.
Yeah.
And he kind of then just keeps going. It's genius, but it's also
so fun. But like
Yeah.
again, it's that thing. Is like I don't know if I shouldn't be laughing at this. It's terrible.
Yeah.
It's literally
Yes.
like it's so sad. That man is shirtless and he's like literally just walking in the street. Just like the way he even throws his arms.
throws
like,
his arms, his head,
and he's just like they've done no
got-
one's against me.
he's got no top on, but he's got the jacket on.
Yeah,
It's like, oh,
and you're
Jesus.
just like, and like, I've seen that.
Yeah.
I've been walking down Parnell Street and I've seen
God,
some
yeah.
variation of that dude. Like, and it's like I'm not laughing then, but when I see it on a fucking YouTube clip, I'm giggling like a little, and you're just like, oh, that's
Yeah,
so
if you
funny.
saw that and you didn't know it was a comedy, you'd be like, oh, who's filming him?
that's so sad.
But it's like that's the phrase as well. They've turned the wheel. Like there's a whole history there. There's a whole story
yeah, that's it.
behind
It's like the kind of the Hemingway thing of like
yes,
like two shoes not
Not
never worn.
worn, baby shoes
Yeah.
never worn, yeah.
It's that kind of it's that level of comedy where you can say so much with a glance.
and it's that feeling I'm chased. It's like with the 2 minute stuff. Or, 2 minutes. I keep saying the 2 minute stuff because that's kind of where I end up in.
Yeah.
It's like 2 minutes because I'm not gonna. I do very seldom do real short things, but like, it's like that sweet spot of telling a story in that amount of
Yeah.
time, but it's still feeling like there's a
whole
richness to it.
world
There's
there.
a whole world there now, a
Yeah.
whole character, and like he's the king of that. To be honest with you, like the thing that this one sprung to mind first, and it was like I was obsessed with it, but like, and it was one of the early ones of Limmy's that I watched, but the one that I discovered was I'd always when I was living in Galway and I was making sketches in that kind of, not in that vein, but so people constantly recommended Limmy to me, and
Yeah.
so I was vaguely aware of him. They're like, you should watch his show, you'd love it, and which is kind of death. Any recommendation is
Yeah,
is
you're
like,
already
you're
like,
oh,
yeah.
maybe and then I remember one day I was crippled with a hangover in bed, and I could, you just can't watch anything longer than whatever.
No, yeah, you have like a finite, like if the resources are low,
Yeah.
you just need to. You're looking for comfort. You're just
Exactly,
looking for something
just
small.
something to appear in front of you.
Yeah.
And I found this super cut of Limmy's Vines, and so the first thing I ever saw of it, I didn't even have Vine or whatever.
Yeah.
So it was like this YouTube super cut, and I just watched them, and it was like it was like looking into the eyes of God. I was like,
This can be done.
this changes everything. It
Yeah.
was like I say it about Limmy where it's like all the kind of really formative stuff happened when I was like 16, 17, 18.
Yeah.
All the stuff that like, because that's the age that the formative
It
stuff
is,
kicks
yeah.
in. So like
100%.
you kind of think you're never gonna. You see things that you fall in love with, you adore,
Yeah.
that inspire you.
Sure.
but nothing at a very like molecular level.
No,
like
that
change.
it rewrites. You're like, this is the path now. I know where I'm going.
Exactly, and that is what happened. Like I was well into my 20s that stage, and then I saw that, and it was like, oh, I had one of those like formative things, and it was from those, and the specific. There was all the mad kind of crazy ones that again the primal mad,
Yeah.
demonic like couple of seconds on, but the ones that it kind of like, it's almost like the kind of Rosetta Stone for all my stuff and it's something I think back on, and I'm like, I'd love to get that feeling in some of my stuff. Is the Plasterer? That was the series, the Vines of the Plasterer, where it's like this like really overly friendly plasterer. These are all just 6-second vines, but they're like tell a story, and he's like a recovered alcoholic, and over the course of these things, he falls off the wagon. It's so dark, but it's hilarious, just his performance and the detail of it. But like it's oh, it could have been easily swapped out for this, but because the two of those things were the ones where you're like, I'm seeing something I've never seen before, and it speaks to me directly into my soul, and I want to kind of, because sometimes it's like, even with Limmy stuff, if you see stuff and you almost see where the thought came from, or the what pissed him off to make him make the sketch. Sometimes that takes the magic away from it. For me, it's like, but then you see stuff where you're like, even if you see, where the origin point was, like, oh, he's making fun of YouTube kind of thing, or he's making fun of, or he's doing a character in this kind of like a Scottish character, but like the way it's executed, it doesn't feel just that he's like he's like taking pot shots at this kind of thing.
Yeah, no. It's gone. There's thought in it. It's gone through filters. Like it's gone through filters. Like one of the sketches that I love of his, and again, this is because I really do think people maybe don't realize the level of intelligence it takes to be that stupid, or is he to appear kind of stupid? Yeah, like the one I'd always go for is Nutbush City Limits. Oh, from Limmy Show. Yes, yeah. And it's like I can't explain how funny it is. I don't know why it's funny. It's so stupid. It's literally just like 6, women as Limmy dressed up, and he's like doing the little dance, and it's like I will literally cry laughing at it, and it gets progressively worse how much I laugh at it. Like
his face is just comedy, like gold, and not like a kind of Jim Carrey rubbery way, just like his eyes and his smile.
There's a kind of a deadness or something behind it.
It
is like there's a real kind of like deadness.
Just this trigger word, deadness. Deadness.
Eddie? Are we done? Okay. All right. Talk to me about, because I know, like, you're, as we're recording this, you just done the Paddy Power Comedy Festival. Mm-hmm. Do you find, we're talking about kind of like character work, we're talking about like, sketches and all the rest of it. Your own, I don't want to say transition, but like moving from kind of like sketch comedy to stand-up comedy. Would you feel more comfortable doing like, say, an hour, and you could break it up into like you'd turn up on stage as this character, turn up on stage as that character, or is it more sort of like flowing in a different way, or how do you marry the two together, or can you even marry the two together?
I still am trying to work it out. I think I'd rather I do the characters, because but I haven't found a way to satisfactorily do that yet. I did, in my first show, I did a mix of stand-up and character, and there was costume changes, and it required a bit of tech to play something when I went off stage. Frankly, I hate that stuff. So I specifically, for the tour, no, that is coming back later this year and has already been on a Vic Street and other place. I wanted to just not have to leave the stage once I'm on. Right. So like costume changes were out. So like if I was going to do any character stuff, it had to be kind of a different kind of tack. So I don't quite do character stuff, but there's an element almost to it. Yeah. But if I had my druthers there, I could just do a full character show, I think. But then sometimes like a character show is like, you need massive kind of difference in like you're changing your voice and your face and you're this and you're that, and then it's like I don't know if I'm that kind of a character comedian. A lot of my characters, well, not some of them don't, but a lot of them sound the same and look.
It's a story, isn't it? Yeah, like they're self-contained stories. Like I mean, like like the Christmas party one. That's very specific, time, place, character, backstory. That's a short film as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah, that's what I like to do with the characters. Is like try and make a little, almost like I'm trying to do Raging Bull in 2 minutes with the jokes. Not that Raging Bull doesn't have jokes; it's got great jokes. But
it's got great jokes. Raging Bull is Raging Bull with a judicious amount of editing.
Editing could be hysterical.
Could be fucking hilarious.
Yeah, the same. Like this, it's
so like Goodfellas. Like Goodfellas is a comedy.
Comedy. Irishman, to be honest, for a film that's like preoccupied with wasting your life and death, and it's got some of the funniest stuff of the last couple of years. But that's, I kind of want to unpack that. I want to do I want to do Rage Bullet in 2 minutes, and sometimes that gets away from me. But sometimes you can get this sweet spot, like the Christmas party sketch, where it's like, oh, that's what it's. That's where there's like laughs in it, but like it's upsetting as well, and it's true, and it's sad.
It's dark.
And it's dark, yeah.
And sad, and like just so much in it. Like, do you find, I mean, in writing, kind of like writing these sketches and creating these characters and all the rest of it, like, and this kind of is something that Limmy does very well, I think, is like, you know, there's enough truth in it. There's enough pathos. You know, there's enough sadness in it. Do you have to be, and again, this is something that David Lynch talked about, like, do you feel you have to suffer? Do you have to have experienced that kind of suffering in order to tell a story of suffering? Do you have to experience sadness in order to tell a story of sadness?
Yeah.
Without getting too personal now.
No, I liked it that quick. I think at the very least you have to have observed it.
Yeah.
Or thought about it, or have thoughts on it based on what, you know, you're even a third hand experience. It's like, yeah, I think there has to be some.
It has to come from somewhere.
And like, I think a lot of what I do comes out of either my own insecurities or my fears of that who I am, or that how I'm perceived, and like kind of, or even just like, I know that's what I am, or I know that's who I. So like a lot of it is like kind of that, kind of like let's get it out there, but not in this like very first person confessional way. Do it through like a
no,
character.
it's controlled. Yeah,
exactly. So like that's, I think a lot of that stuff comes from personal. Yeah, if you personally experience them. But I also think if you just go out in the world and observe things and have lived a life, you're going to pick stuff up.
You're going to see
your story. Exactly. Yeah. So like, I think it doesn't have to be your thing, but you definitely need to be out and living your life and meeting every kind of person and kind of living in different environments.
Like this guy here.
Like this guy, he's lived a life.
Huh? What's up, dude? Come on, chill out. Yeah. What are you working on next? What do you, I mean, where do you kind of see the progression? I mean, you were saying the tour is coming back.
The tour is coming back later in the year, and then there's a couple of bits coming out that I acted in, a sitcom.
Are you allowed to talk about any of them yet? Not really.
No, I don't think there'd be anything to get in trouble with it, but just in case, there's a show coming out in September on RT, a sitcom thing that I just have a small little bit in, but it was a lovely time. Got to work with a comedy hero of mine, but it was.
Can we say who that comedy hero is?
It's Philippa Dunn from Died of Worms and
right.
Motherland. Oh, I'm obsessed. So I got to do a scene with her where I was been very silly. So that was insane. But and then I'm writing a Morgan Grogan film.
You're writing a Morgan Grogan film?
Yeah, for Tailored, who did.
Yeah, I know Tailored. Yeah.
So I'm writing that for him, and there's a couple of other writing things on. So it's.
I have to ask you about the Morgan Grogan thing.
Yeah.
Okay, so are we talking like The Player kind of thing, like a Robert Altman kind of buzz, or is it more, I don't know, starving actor? What's the vibe like? Can you talk about it?
Yeah, there's a little bit of the King of Comedy. There's a little bit of talented Mr. Ripley. It's basically those two things mushed together. Yeah. It's
so like Morgan Grogan is your Rupert Pupkin kind of.
Yeah, exactly. And then it's himself, and there's a character that he comes across that at first kind of is going to make his dreams come true, and then it gets a bit weird, and it's about the thing I was saying before about tying your identity to one thing and not and back out of it when you need to. Yeah,
that it's just like you've got nothing else. You've nowhere else to go.
Exactly. So like what are you willing to accept to if when you get the opportunity to kind of make that your reality. So it's it's those are my two little lodestones for that film, and there's other things as well. But in terms of like tonally,
Oh,
yeah.
How are you finding it?
It's
writing
great.
it like
it's
as in
great.
writing it.
I mean, like it's there's elements of it that are very cathartic, and elements of it that are tough because you're trying to tell this very tight, well structured story while still having room for kind of the madness.
Yeah.
But it's been great now, and they're a great gang to work with.
Do you find, I mean, like in writing, I mean, what is your kind of like your writing style with something like this? Like, I mean, do you really like go like Armando Iannucci, like piece by piece, comma by comma? Or do you like a setup kind of thing, like a Larry David, Larry Charles thing, where it's just a broad scene and it's like, okay, go for gold? Or how do you find, like, I mean, how do you find like writing comedy?
It's case by case with the sketches. I've kind of got it down a bit now. Well, I've been doing less and less sketches now because the other writing was taking up a lot of time. But some of them were incredibly well written, incredibly like specifically written.
Yes.
And then others, sometimes you're better off just going in with
An idea
and like
rocking it
3
out.
beats to hit.
Yeah.
So you kind of keep things moving, like and you know what you're rapping on. And those two kind of processes have kind of meshed to the point where now it got to the point where I didn't have to sit down and write a whole monologue. I could just kind of have a little skeleton frame, and these kind of
You can slot
things
into
that
it.
you needed to hit, and then you kind of just keep doing it. So then I didn't have to do as many takes as I did with the kind of improv stuff, or I didn't have to spend as much time writing on it as I did with the kind of written stuff. But then with the stuff now, with the scripts and stuff like that, it's it's just like treatment, like treatment, and then building out the treatment, and then by the end, because I know I'll be able to write the dialogue and all the fun stuff. So
Yeah.
I've learned the hard way. For me, it's for the longer form things. Don't go into it. Start writing the fun scenes, or whatever.
Right.
I just get lost. So I just give it kind of ballast and give it structure, and then go and have.
Once you have the structure, once you know where everything is, it's like, right, now I can drill in.
Exactly, yeah. Unless like fucking thingy, like inspiration strikes, and you go for like whatever gets anything on the page is worth your while.
Yeah.
But like for lately, that's kind of how I've found been helpful, which I never had before, and I had to begrudgingly kind of learn that.
Really?
Yeah.
Even after studying film, like, I mean, having that kind of an academic level of...
Yeah. I like, it's just I don't like homework.
Yeah,
and like
same, yeah.
It's like just that's what it's like. It was pure laziness, and like you kind of dress it up as like, oh, it's not creative. It's
not my artistic vibe. Yeah, I can't get to this.
But
No,
then
you're
it's
just being fucking lazy.
It's exactly. So then you sit down and Scott Frank doesn't outline, and I'm just gonna, or Quentin
Billy Ray doesn't do this
Yeah,
shit. Brian
yeah.
Helgeland doesn't have to do this.
Yeah, and it's like if you listen to these lads, look, they're telling you this from their massive houses, but also, you it is the classic thing of like you need to know that you're able to do the other stuff.
Yeah,
before
you have to.
Yeah,
Because otherwise it's just like, I've got like 10 decent ideas here.
and you're just gonna trail off into
There-
this.
it's just going to go up in smoke. Like,
Yeah.
it's the second the cameras start rolling, it's like, there's nothing here. Like,
Exactly.
You're fucked. Like, so anything coming up in the next kind of 2-3 weeks?
Oh yeah,
3-4 weeks?
Oh no, I was gonna
Say September. Like,
September. I'll have a couple more shows of Anno, including one in Belfast, one in Dunleary, and then watch. Yeah, I mean the show is called Show Kids. That's coming out in September on RT. Watch
Nice.
Show Kids. Come see me in Anno.
Good stuff. Peter McGann.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Eddie.
Thank you, Eddie. Okay, so that was our interview with Peter McGann. Thanks very much for listening. Thanks very much for watching. Thanks very much for subscribing. If you haven't subscribed, please do so. If you like the show, please review it. If you really, really liked it, leave a comment. I am reading the comments. They're all great. There was like 4 of them on the Spotify. I don't know. There was a couple on YouTube as well. But yeah, feel free to leave a comment. If we get enough of them, definitely will read them out. Absolutely not against that at all. So yeah, thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. Thanks for subscribing. Hope you have a great rest of your week, and I'll talk to you next time. Say bye bye. Say bye bye, Eddie. Eddie. Say bye bye.